So friends, hope you are having a great time with the world of knowledge and especially the IBC provisions, right friends? And I think this is the best way to learn a topic utilizing this particular time period and understanding the intricacies of any law. जिंदगी में ऐसे मुश्किलें बहुत ज़्यादा है, बट हम सबको पता है अगर मुश्किलें हैं तो जिंदगी है दोस्तों, इसलिए चिंता न करें। आप ध्यान रखें जो आज के सफल आदमी की जिंदगी में किस्से होते हैं तो ही वो सफल होता है। तो इन चीज़ों को आज के समय को किस्सा लें और शायद आने वाले समय में जब आप सफल हो जाएंगे तो इन किस्सों को किसी तरह आप दोहराएंगे और याद करेंगे। चलिए तो let's move ahead to the very small and important, relevant in terms of the penal provisions, friends, where we need to understand, yes, that the sections which you have studied so far, and if they are not followed in the true sense, friends, then what can happen to a particular stakeholder involved in this whole process of CRP, that we need to understand. So let us understand the various provisions regarding fine and punishment under the IBC code, friends. So the whole provisions are covered from section 68 to 77, and they are very specific on covering specific topics, specific problem area, touching on specific problem area. And punishments are very heavy. Let me tell you, friends, punishments are very heavy. That is why you need to be very careful and understanding these provisions. And as a stakeholder involved in the whole process, you have to remember all these provisions. Okay. So let us understand with section 68, and I have highlighted the major points in red. And because of maybe these are not so relevant in the current state, so that will be very relevant when you actually do the practical, understand it. So we'll just cover it in brief and just focus on the important points. So punishment for the concealment of property, that is the first section, and highlighting the important word, friends, where any officer, right? So remember, the word is any officer. It's not about only the promoter, the management, any officer, and then to within 12 months, immediately preceding the insolvency commencement date, has, the various words are willfully, fraudulently, willfully concealed, destroyed, or mutilated, or falsified any book, willfully made any false entry in the book, fraudulently parted with, or altered or made any omission in document. So just to ensure, just to make the property concealed from the creditors, I think whatever it does to the property or to the related documents, then he is subject to punishment. And punishment will comprise of fine as well as imprisonment. That is the more important thing, friends. And let's not focus on the amount part and the number of years for which has been given the imprisonment. But very important, friends, is that what is the activity where he is subject to this kind of punishment. That is important. So the first is concealment of the property part. Then the second one comes for the punishment for transaction for defrauding creditors. Now, when he has entered into or has made or caused to be made any gift or transfer of any property of the corporate debtor, has concealed or removed any part of the property of the corporate debtor, then he shall be punishable with, again, a particular term and fine also. So it is he has entered into basically a transaction. So the previous one was basically concealment. Here it is not concealment, but here it is basically the transaction which he has entered into. Then the next section comes for the punishment of misconduct in the course of CRP. So any officer during the process of CRP, he does not support the RP or the COC, it does not disclose, does not deliver to the RP any books and paper for which he is in charge, then he fails to inform any important information which he has got knowledge about the debt and prevents the production of any book. So that means here it is more focused on the officer who is basically working along with the RP during the CRP process and is not able to support them because the suspended management is out of the picture, so they will not come here, but the staff will be involved. So therefore very important. If the staff is not supporting, if the officer is not supporting, he's subject to punishment and fine. Yes, this is again a very important point is regarding falsification of books of the corporate debtor. On and after the insolvency date, where any person destroys, when he comes to know that the company has been taken over with the RP, then any person, remember. So it's not about only this officer or the suspended management. Here the word is any person. He destroys, mutilates, alters, or falsifies any books of accounts if he's got the knowledge and makes any fraudulent entry, then belonging to the corporate debtor with the intent to defraud, obviously the intention should be proved, then he is again subject to the penalty and fine. So remember, the first case was where the person, where an officer, and then we have again the officer in the other sections here. The major focus is on any person. So again, coming back to the next penalty is regarding an officer of the corporate debtor makes any material and willful omission in any statement. So let's say if you're giving an affidavit, if you're giving some statement, then he is makes any material and willful omission in that statement, then again he's subject to imprisonment and fine. So if you see the various provisions, the focus is on the officer part, along with the suspend management, which are already there. They are already in the net, friends, but then officer also is being charged with a lot of penalty. So everybody has to be very careful in supporting the whole CRP process and producing any kind of information which they have, friends. So here again, on and after the insolvency commencement. So if you see, there are certain transactions which are before the insolvency commencement date, and there are certain transactions which are after the insolvency commencement date. So when the officer makes a false representation or commits any fraud, for the purpose of obtaining the consent of creditors of the corporate debtor. So let's say, there are so many provisions where we need a consent to the extent of 66%, 75%, 90%. So when he makes a false representations, just to get that particular consent from the COC, then he is also subject to imprisonment and fine. Yes, punishment for the contravention of moratorium of the resolution plan. I think very important, where the corporate debtor or any first officer violates the provisions of section 14, and any such officer who knowingly or willfully committed or authorized or permitted such transaction or contravention, then will be subject to punishment. So section 14 is saying that there is a moratorium period which will apply to the corporate debtor with respect to certain elements. So if those elements are not taken care by, or normally any transaction violates any the provisions of section 14, which talks about the moratorium period, and moratorium period basically covers the company from what the certain cases which are filed in the NCLT. So maybe, and then there are certain moratorium with respect to the claim which can be put to companies, and then there are certain things which are very essential, that the essential services should continue to be provided to the company. So that is covered under section 14, which is a very important element, friends. And if that person, corporate debtor or any of its officer does not violate the provisions of section 14, then they are subject to the penal provisions. Then when you are putting any application under section 7, this is a general clause that does not apply to the corporate debtor or any officer of the corporate debtor. So if you are giving false information in section 7 when you are filing an application against CD, then because you are giving an affidavit, so if the affidavit is wrong, then you are subject to certain penal consequences. And punishment for the non-disclosure of dispute of debt by operational creditors. So in case the operational creditor has willfully or knowingly concealed that the payment has been received, is not or that there was a dispute in existence and probably it has not been disclosed properly, then he can be subject to penal consequences. So a lot of things apply on the operational creditor or the person who is filing the application also. It's not only about the CD or the officer of the CD. I think we need to look at a lot of broader aspects also when it comes to penal provisions. So friends, this is all about the penal provisions covering from 68 to 77. The last one which we are trying to cover is punishment for providing false information in application made by the corporate debtor. So if under section, when we study the next law part is the voluntary liquidation, then where the corporate debtor is filing for voluntary liquidation, and if he gives false information in that, then again he is subject to penal consequences. So Very important, friends. So it is covering section 7, it is covering section 9, it is covering section 10, if you're forgiving any false information. And in all these sections, remember, you have to give an affidavit where we are declaring that whatever is being disclosed is true and we are not hiding any material facts. So if that is violated, then we are subject to legal consequences under section 75, 76, and 77. So if you now understand, yes, a lot of heavy penalty are being imposed on all the people who are involved in the CRP process, including the RP. So this CRP process, the IBC board, is very critical to bring out the resolution for a particular company, and that is why the government is very serious in the whole process. And if anybody deviates from the whole process, then we brought to the court with this penal consequences. Right, friends? So this is the end, friends. No, this is not the end. Probably there's a lot of things hidden behind us, right? And for that, we'll meet next time with our next lecture. Thank you.